It is another Tuesday night with the People's Pride Project, another couch conversation. And then tonight, get the words out, girl. This week, my lovely guest, who's on the couch with me from the other side of the country,
From the West Coast,
absolutely, is you go ahead and say it. Introduce
Buna.
yourself.
My name is Buna, and I'm with Wolofwear, and I had the pleasure to meet you a few months ago, and I am very pleased and honored to be on your podcast.
Well, thank you. um, One of the reasons that I invited you to have this conversation is because when I was out in LA looking at, first of all, if you guys have not come across Wall of Wear, either in person or via the Instagram, this is amazing clothing. It's just an experience. Like it gives a feeling, and I'm all about the way things feel.
Thank you, thank
So
you.
just being in that space, like people see me, I wear that one piece jumpsuit thing
Oh
all
yes, yes, yes,
the time, all the
yeah,
time. So
yeah. And you know what? I mean, it's an honor because I could definitely feel that you were really feeling the clothing, and it was like
absolutely,
I was so touched by that. Because I mean, some people support, but you have people that really genuinely just appreciate the clothing. And you were one of those people.
thank you. But I mean, it's beautiful, it's well crafted, and it evokes an emotion, and that's why I like to deal with life in general, like what makes you feel something. And in those
Definitely.
conversations, it was the idea of the Pan African business aspect. Like,
Hmm.
you go to Senegal and then you bring your wares back, and it's this connectivity that was really
Yeah.
intriguing to me. So I wanted to
Yes.
be able to sit down with you and talk about some of that.
Yeah. Yeah, we have a team of at least 10 people, because we have so many orders, custom orders. I actually just, my last order was actually from somebody from New Jersey that ran into some of the stuff that I was posting on Instagram. And, I think they ordered 2 coats, so they should be on their way. So we have a team of about 10 people working for us. We use a various tailors because, we have so much work, we can't be delayed by just using one tailor. So we have about 5 different tailors we're using. We have a driver. We have a few people that help us out with the shipping. We have people helping us out with translating. Because my wife is African American and she neither speaks Wolof or French, so she needs a translator. And she also has a couple of bodyguards. Two tall, athletic, dark-skinned guys that accompany her everywhere. So safety is not a concern. Because in Africa things can get rough. As far as negotiating. So as a woman, we want to make sure that she's protected. So, I mean, we have a lot of people working for us, and as far as like improving their lives, it is the one thing that kind of motivates me because to see these people trying to take care of their families and being able to help them through the business, help them expand. I guess my tailor actually just moved to a bigger and better house. He was able to move his whole family to a bigger and nicer house. And, I was just so proud and it just made me so much more motivated. So, yeah, I
Mhm.
mean, it's a business as far as, I guess you could call it an international business, having people on African soil and also, bringing clothing, to my people here in LA and also in America. We're currently working on the website, trying to make it where people can, order online internationally. But yeah, I mean, it's an international business with people working for us. But as far as like in America, I'm like the main guy. But
Mhm.
I'm trying to bring some of my folks over so that they can help me. Yeah.
So let's start at the beginning. How does an aerospace engineer make the jump into fashion? Like, where's the connect for that?
Okay, so when I first moved so I went to the University of Wisconsin. I was
Mhm.
able to get my degree in aerospace engineering. It took me about a year to find a job in engineering. I was actually working for IBM, and then I was like, I studied like engineering for 6 years. Why am I not using it? I mean, what a waste. So I figured, you know what? Let me just start applying. Because back then I think we were using Monster.com.
Oh,
So I
good.
started going on Monster.com, and then I ran into this company locally in Milwaukee, and I was there for like a month, and it wasn't really the right fit. So I was only there for about a month, but then and eventually I was able to find something in Texas. So I moved to Texas, And the thing about Texas, the cost of living is very low. So I was in Texas. I was there for about 6 years, more specifically in Dallas. So life was good, affordable. I had a big apartment, like downtown Dallas, and then downtown Fort Worth. Everything was good. I was making money. I was driving a Benz. I was living the what you call the American dream.
Mhm.
And then I moved to LA, and everything just, yeah. Moving to LA, I had to really figure out, because the amount of money that you make in Texas or in other states is just nothing. Like, I mean, you live in New Jersey, New York, so
Right.
you guys probably have the same kind of cost of living.
Mhm.
So with the cost of living, my cost of living increased. My salary was not sufficient. I didn't really do a good job negotiating my salary. And as a matter of fact, I just talked to my old boss, who told me that he actually paid me more than most people, but I was still really struggling.
Mhm.
So I just started trying to figure out different ways of hustling. So I went from, I think in the beginning, I was just doing like nutrition. I was doing this company. I'm not going to name them. I'm not going to give
Mhm.
them any marketing, but just basically selling nutritional products online. And that kind of helped me establish a business model, knowing how to interact with customers, knowing how to perform transactions.
Mhm.
And then from that, I just went into, like, like, I'm Afrocentric. I want to do something that really matters. I want to, like, diffuse a message. And I so much want for us, African Americans and Africans to connect, because it's such a common struggle,
Mhm.
and a lot of times, like, we just, like, there's just so much ignorance and so much misconception and brainwash that occurs. So I was like, I need to do something positive. Like, okay, then I started thinking about T-shirts, having a message on T-shirts. So I went, I basically started off selling T-shirts, Wolofwear. So I was doing that, but the t-shirt game is pretty much saturated. I mean, unless you have some really crazy designs, it's just really rough. So I was doing that, and then somehow I had a lot of friends of mine that were doing like import export,
Mhm.
and my wife was like, look at what Mara is doing. A friend of mine, his name was Mara. She was like, Mara is doing import export. She's selling clothing. Why don't you try to do the same? But I was like really hesitant, because I really had never like vended, like, done any kind of direct sales, like interacting with people. Everything I was doing was just online.
Mhm.
So once I started, like, talking to Mara, who was like a older bro. He's like only a year older, but he's just like, these kind of people that are
Yeah.
just like really mature.
Yeah.
So he was just like basically telling me, look, this is simple, man. You go to Africa, you buy stuff wholesale, you bring it back. This is how the shipment works. La, 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 la. I mean, he just broke it down, and I really, really appreciate that, because so many times people are so caught up in being competitive or not
Mhm.
wanting you to move forward or thinking you're going to be a rival. But this guy really took his time and just really broke it down. But I was still kind of scared, to make the jump as far as like investing. And you
Mhm.
know how they say scared money makes no
Oh,
money.
money. Yep.
So my wife just took it upon herself to just to buy the merchandise. So one time she asked me for a certain amount. We weren't even married then. So she just took $500 and just, you know, bought a bunch of merchandise. And then she had a bunch of outfits, because she's African Americans, but she goes all the way. She goes to Africa, various countries like Ghana, Ethiopia. So she has like a lot of stuff from there that she doesn't even wear.
Mhm.
So she just put everything together, and let's buy a canopy. Then she bought racks and just basically just put me on my way. And I just started doing my festivals. And I believe my first festival was Solnik. So it's something that happens yearly. It's a black festival, and they basically they play a lot of house music, and mixed with R&B. And they have black vendors. They really they support, like, the local black businesses. So I went there, and like, like, we made so much money. I was like, oh my god, this is crazy, because there's no better feeling than investing money and then getting money
Right.
in return.
And having it
So
come
yeah.
back from your own community. Like.
Exactly, exactly. And something that's worthwhile, not just
Mhm.
anything like selling, towels, or,
Right.
something that's meaningful,
Right.
where I'm basically sharing a part of my culture with my people here in America. So
Absolutely.
that's kind of how it started. Yeah,
Isn't it funny how like we always start on one path and it's kind of like, no, we need you to go here, and it just kind of finds
exactly.
your way.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. Yeah, a lot of times, like, you just gotta get started. At the end of the day, just get started, because, like,
Mhm.
you don't know where things are gonna lead you. You know what I mean? And especially when you live in LA, there are so many celebrities, so many people that are doing the same thing that you're doing on a higher level. And
Hmm.
you come across so many people that you can befriend and that can even like the other day I had I don't know if you know the rapper Supernatural.
Hmm.
He's known as a freestylist. He's the one that started the Lyricist Lounge. So over the years we've become really good friends, and you know he's actually talking about working with me, and this is somebody that I idolized since like the late 90s, and I'm finally meeting here in LA.
Hmm.
Just people like that wanting to build with you, people that already have a platform that you could utilize to go forward. So yeah, definitely, just one thing is gonna lead to the other. All you gotta do is just get started. That's it. Get started. Make the jump. If you lose money, it's okay. But at the end of the day, every money that you invest is going to be a write-off at the end of the day. It's going to help you. So actually in the beginning, the more money you lose, the better off you may be.
That is
And then
true.
eventually, you start making money. But at
Hmm.
least, if you have a certain salary, like they say, if you have money to burn, you have money to invest. If you make a certain salary and you're able to save money, just take some of that money and just invest it, because you need a write-off anyway. You don't want to be paying the government every year all these taxes. You can have a write-off, and you can write things off like trips, or just anything, phone bill, internet.
I
Yeah,
think that's one of the benefits that a lot of people don't realize about a business. They think it's so much risk up front. And part of it is,
exactly,
but a lot of it is getting over your own fear to reap
exactly.
all of the benefits on the backside.
Yeah, yeah, and you know what? You're right, because I think a lot of people are just afraid. Because
Hmm.
at the end of the day, we're in a matrix. If you watch the movie The Matrix, we're all afraid. Everybody's scared. Like people in my family that are scholars, that have PhDs, all they want to do is just sit down and wait for a check. They're afraid. Like I'm not gonna name these relatives, but I have relatives that like just sold out of a divorce. They sold a house. They got a bunch of money, and they don't know what to do with it, and they're really scared about their kids' future, like going to college. And the thing is, like, all you gotta do is invest your money. Just invest a little bit at a time, and just see a profit, and just go from there. Because you're not gonna be able to sustain a living till the day because we don't know when we're going. It could be
Right.
like age 90, it could be 80, it could be 100. I mean, I don't want to be this old guy just waiting for my pension. You know what I mean? Like, you want to be in a situation where, like, people that have money, they don't even have the same mindset. They just realize, I'm telling you, since I've been doing this business, combining it with my aerospace engineering work, I've been able to sleep well at night. And like for 10 years, I couldn't sleep at night because I was like, I only have a single stream of income. And
Mhm.
if I lose this, that's it. you know so at the end of the day, you need multiple streams of income. Just get started. And man, if I would have been able to talk to the 20-year-old me, oh my goodness. Because I started like in my 30s.
Mhm.
But like the earlier you start, the better. Just start. Like 50 said, get rich or die trying. And it's not about being materialistic. But
Mhm.
listen, this is 2022. Money is freedom. I'm sorry. Even your health costs money. So you want to put yourself in a position where you can just like have peace of mind. If like for example, my father can't walk. My mom asked me for $400 last week to get him a wheelchair, and I was able to just do it without even thinking, without even like, oh my God, I'm not going to be able to pay my phone bill. You need money to help the people around you. You need money to travel. You need money to be at ease, have peace of mind when you're at work at your regular job. If you get fired or terminated or laid off, then you're not going to be worried about your next paycheck. You're not worried about, not being able to pay your rent. At the end of the day, this is 2022. We're no longer in these prehistoric times. This is a new era. So money serves a purpose.
I think money definitely serves a purpose, but money without knowledge is kind of a waste.
That's very true.
Because
Yeah,
just I know a lot of people that have had it, and I've seen them lose it, just
exactly,
because they
exactly.
didn't
Yeah,
know what they were doing with it. And
yeah, yeah,
I think, um, along with that line of reasoning, a lot of times we're chasing money, but number one, don't have the knowledge of what to do with it, or
exactly,
what to do as an individual without it. Because money's great.
exactly.
Money gives you
Yeah,
freedom. Money gives you space to move in different realms that usually you might not even get into the room.
exactly.
But if you don't have the capabilities with or without the money, once you get into that room, it doesn't really matter.
That's very true. As a matter of fact, I was born and raised sheltered.
Mhm.
I really never struggled until I came to America. I was 18, and then all of a sudden, my uncle is like, you know what, you kind of sheltered. You need to get a job, da 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 da. And my mom was sending me money, and I was just like, every time I would have money, I would just feel the urge to spend it.
Mhm.
Not even thinking about 3 months from now,
Mhm.
just like money being in my pocket, it just had to be spent by any means necessary. I just had to find out something. Oh, maybe this new CD came out. I need this new pair of Timberland boots. I these new Nikes. But then it really takes somebody to struggle and go through some type of struggle. To first
Mhm.
of all, you got to know what the value of money is. It's
Right.
not about just being rich. Oh, I'm richer than everybody. You have to. Money has a purpose.
Mhm.
In this day and time, money has a purpose. You got to know first of all the purpose. You got to know the value of money, and you got
Right.
to invest wisely. So it's very important to kind of like maybe go through some type of struggle that makes you realize what the value of money is. But then again, you also have these kids, some of these professional athletes, although they struggled, they get a lot of money, then
Right.
they just go crazy. I hate to see that happen. You know.
Um,
Yeah.
as far as like, I think we've lose the meaning of the word currency, right? Like we talk about
Hmm.
money as currency, but
Hmm.
what is currency? Currency is energy. So we're
Yeah.
moving this around
Hmm.
and not recognizing what we're really doing. Like a lot of, I'm a language nerd, right? I like words.
Okay.
I like to know a lot. So many of us say things and don't know
Hmm.
what we're actually saying
Yeah.
because we don't understand what the words really mean.
Hmm.
So to say that, oh yeah, we're circulating currency, you're circulating your energy. You're spreading
Exactly.
yourself around. Like that has
Exactly.
to mean something to you. It can't just be some random explosion like, hey, I got a little extra today. Fuck it.
Exactly.
You know?
You are so right. Yeah. It's funny that you say that you're into language because my father is a linguist.
Mm,
So he's very into linguistics, and he basically, like he's an Egyptologist, so like a lot of the Egyptian vocabulary actually has ties to like my native language, which is Wolof. So
hmm.
it's funny. I just want to point that out. Um, but yeah, you're right. Because the thing that I discovered like a few weeks ago is when you give, you receive. Because
Absolutely.
a lot of times, like when you work at a festival, a lot of times like our first reflex is to kind of like feel like we are at competition with other people.
Hmm.
And the people that I vend with, we end up all knowing each other, and it's like a different vibe. And then you realize that oh, I need some new thing. There's like so many things that you can purchase from the local vendors that you can't get elsewhere because we're conscious black folks. We're in this space, so a lot of the stuff that we sell, like you're not going to be able to find at Walmart or even like
Hmm.
certain places in Beverly Hills. So I realized like just spending money here and there, and then every time I would like spend money here, it would just come back, and
Yeah.
it's crazy. Like whether it be in the form of even like sometimes they do this lottery between the vendors and my name popping up, and I'm winning like $100, sometimes 500. I just realized that every time I give, I would just receive, and then people start kind of seeing you as a generous, as a person that means well, and it makes them even want to do business with you more.
Hmm.
So that kind of energy, like you said, when you spread it around, it always comes back. Everything is just like it's like give and take. It's a full circle, as opposed to just being, oh, I'm here, I'm in vendor mode. I'm not buying anybody's stuff. I need shea butter. So, oh yeah, let me go get some shea butter from TK. Oh, I need some Bob Marley shirts. Oh, there's a Jamaican guy, Ken, he's over there. Let me, you know, and they have like really good prices. So at the end of the day, like you say, you have to spread it around, like it's
Hmm.
energy. Currency is energy.
Yep.
Yeah.
So how do we use that idea to create these interconnected communities? Because we are all, we're conscious black and brown people. We're all from the diaspora in one way or the other. Like you were saying before we came on camera, we were talking about DNA, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
How do we use these things to create a broader connection, like a global community that's really feeding into each other?
Yeah. I think like having like cultural events is very crucial. Like for example, like where I work at, where I do my vending. It's Limerick Park, by the way. At
Hmm.
the African Marketplace. It's in South Central, so it's every Sunday from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. Just having vendors. Like I mean, if you like you said, you've experienced Limerick Park and you've seen like vendors from Jamaica. We have vendors from Trinidad. They have myself from Senegal. We have people from Belize. So it's like, Marcus Garvey would be so proud of the
Mhm.
of just seeing us as a community just working together and having this conscious mindset, although we're all from different places, but just to have that common Black consciousness.
Mhm.
And I think that cultural events definitely play a big part in it. And I think nowadays, with the internet, with social media, it's very easy to connect with people from other places, seeing how they live and, somewhat defeating your ignorance. And I believe, everything is a cycle. I
Mhm.
believe in our greatness. I believe that, we were a great people, and this is just like a very small episode of our history. And,
Mhm.
it's just a full cycle. We're just going to get back on top. It's going to be more difficult now that the oppressor has nuclear weapons and all types of tanks, and we kind of like we kind we kind of missed that window, but we'll get back to it. It's just a cycle. Right now, I know our ancestors are just rolling in their graves like, what are they doing?
Right?
Like,
We
you
taught
know,
you better than this. What are you
exactly,
doing?
exactly. No,
But
we'll come back. We'll come back.
I love the idea that you recognize that this misfortune that we're always so caught up in our struggle and our this and we've been held back, and yes, it that's what has happened, but it's just a
Hmm.
blip
Yes, it
in the
is. Yeah,
overarching greater
yeah,
history. And I
yeah.
think as an American,
Hmm.
African American, it is important that that part is more vocalized,
Hmm.
because they always make it like, well, y'all just came over on some boats and that's all
Yeah.
that matters. Like,
Hmm.
there's so much more than that.
Exactly. No, I mean slavery is just a very small portion of our history. And as a matter of fact, we know we were here before Christopher Columbus. We taught the Spaniards and the Portuguese how to sail. And unfortunately, we didn't know what they were going to use it for. But we dominated Europe for 700 years. You know what I mean? And people don't realize that since 1492, it's been payback time. Because like we dominated Europe, we dominated Spain, we dominated Portugal, and this is just basically payback. That's what a lot of people fail to realize is that we were dominating. And like I can use a small island of Corsica. If you see their flag actually has a black person that's very dark skinned, with a headband. And you know what? That headband used to cover the eyes. And that flag basically symbolizes their independence from the Moors because they were dominated for so long from the Moors. They actually committed a genocide. They were basically wiping off every African Moor on the island. And that's the reason why every time they would kill a Moor, they basically use that flag to symbolize that they've defeated their oppressor. For 700 years, we were in Europe doing what we were doing, and that's the reason why, like, at that point in time, once we woke them up and got them out of the dark ages, that's the reason why they came back and they basically, when they came to America and they saw black folks, in the Caribbean and Jamaica. I think that's what Christopher Columbus first saw was like, Africans on the beach,
Mhm.
and it was just basically war. We're indigenous to every land. We've been going back and forth between Africa and America for thousands and thousands and thousands of years. As a matter of fact, California, I think is named after the goddess, African
Mhm.
goddess, Khalifa,
Mhm.
and a lot of these names like Mississippi come from Masiba. My father is a linguist, so he basically breaks down a lot of the words that people use because you have Native Americans that are Africans. You probably have our indigenous to this land. You probably have both, blood from people that came. I mean, we're not going to negate the fact that yes, slavery did happen, but they were indigenous people. They were people. As a matter of fact, you know what we used to call America back then? We used to call it Tarana. Tarana, Tarana. It's basically called the land of the sun. My father wrote a book about that, and my father is a linguist. But that's like a whole other topic. I don't want to expand on that. The only thing that I'm trying to basically, yeah, I don't want to. We can talk about that for hours, but yeah, our history is bigger than slavery. We were
Absolutely.
here before slavery, and some of us got enslaved when when they came here. You know what I mean? I mean,
Mhm.
even if you go to Mexico, some of them, like, some of these Afro Mexicans
Yeah.
claim that they have Senegalese ancestry. I actually watched a documentary at the Pan African Film Festival, and this filmmaker was stating that he has Senegalese roots, and they were cooking a dish. I'm not sure what they call it, but it was basically the equivalent of what we call supu kanja. okay, in Senegal. And as a matter of fact, gumbo is derived from supu kanja. I mean, there are so many things that we don't know. It's bigger than slavery. Yes, slavery did exist, and it affects us as a whole, as a people. There's not a day that I don't think about it. They are like, it's a huge burden,
Hmm.
to even think about what happened to our people and what's been happening to our people for 400 years. But we need to recognize that we were here before slavery. Some of us were unsafe afterwards. Some of us came later. We came in different eras. So our
Hmm.
history is just bigger than slavery. But the thing is, we need to get to the children and teach the children the truth. Give them the full scope of our history.
Yeah,
Otherwise, all it does is just create a psychological burden and an inferiority complex if you don't know the full scope of your history.
but that's intentional. You can't
Exactly.
oppress a people when they know who they are and where they've come from. And if the
Exactly.
laws of the land are built on the idea of oppressing a specific group or type of people, you have to break them away from what creates their pride, what creates their synergy,
Exactly.
what binds them all together. So it's not like
Exactly.
it's just some accident that we're taught, the way that we're
Exactly.
taught. It's a
Yeah.
very intentional means.
Yeah, and it's very unfortunate. It's just so sad that a human being can even resort to oppressing a people like that. It's just very sad.
Yeah.
I just don't see how. I mean, it's just so unfortunate. Because I look at these children and going to school. Like my father used to just pull his hair out when I would bring home like the history books. I mean, they don't even know how they're affecting these kids, and I can only imagine because myself, I was I was basically raised in Africa for the first 18 years of my life. So when I came, I was already like a semi-adult.
Hmm.
But just imagine just being born and raised and not having parents that are scholars that are really telling you the truth of your history, and just getting your history from your oppressor. What
Right.
kind of self-esteem are you developing? That's the reason why a lot of times, like, people come here and they're wondering, they don't have the psychological burden. Like sometimes that's why it's easier for them to move forward. But me, I came at an earlier age, like when I was 18. So I had never like questioned my intellect until I came to America. I started
Hmm.
like thinking like, man, am I inferior? Sitting in these classrooms with like 500 white kids, and just like starting to question my intelligence. And I can only imagine if you were born and raised in this kind of context, like the deep scars that it leaves. You know
Hmm.
what I mean? And at the end of the day, my sister, my people in America are strong. You know what I mean? For to endure like this 400 years of like this oppression, the slavery, and just to still be here and being able to achieve things and being able to educate yourself on certain matters. I mean, that takes a strong person. And the people that made it over here, it's just a testament to your ancestors because the one that made it over the ocean, you know what I mean? They were very strong, and you are a descendant of strong kings and queens.
Absolutely. I always joke that I come from pirates, natives, and good Negroes.
Like the Maroons.
Yes, absolutely. Pirates, natives, and good Negroes. That's what gets you this. But
Exactly. Yeah.
the need, I find, do you find now, especially you're more hands on with the people in the marketplace, do you
Mhm.
find that your popularity is in part because so many of us are looking for a connection again?
Yeah, I do. As a matter of fact, man, every time I have a transaction, it's like a strong experience, like
Hmm.
'cause a lot of times, like I mean, they love the stuff, you know what I mean? Because
It's
it's very
beautiful.
unique, and my wife being African American, what she does is she basically takes like stuff that African American like, and then she'll just replicate the model, but just using wax fabric, or she'll Africanize it, or she'll combine like African and African American fashion in some sense. Like
Hmm.
I have a lot of hoodies that have the camouflage that are very hip hop. I could see like a hip hop artist just wearing it.
Hmm.
So I know that the stuff is dope. People love it. But yeah, every time I have an interaction with somebody, sometimes they're so into like the merchandise that like it just really touches me. That's why like I've been letting people do payment plans, you know, because like I can tell that they just want a connection, and
Right.
at the end of the day, it's like it's mutual gratification. You know what
Hmm.
I mean? It's like rebonding. It's like my merchandise is basically bridging the gap between myself being an African and my African American customers. It's basically we there's a dialogue, and I can tell that they genuinely like the merchandise, and I can tell that they're trying to support me, and
Hmm.
also I'm not like in a situation of dire need. It just really touches me, like this woman, she came and bought a robe, it was $90, but she gave me like 120, and I told her, look, it's 90. She was like, no, that's okay, and I was like, oh, okay, you know what I mean? So there is definitely like it's more than just merchandise. That's why I keep going back to that place because I don't, I'm a bad businessman because I'm not really trying to get my merchandise to be mainstream. I just really want to connect with the people that are conscious, like the Pan Africans or the people that are conscious. Those are the people that I'm really trying to connect with. The people that kind of want to create their own identity and they
Hmm.
don't want to like merge into the mainstream. They don't want to be wearing Balenciaga or Versace. They want to wear something that represents who they are. Those are
Right.
the kind of people I'm trying to connect with. Otherwise, some of my merchandise, a lot of white people like it, but at the end of the day, I mean, I'm not gonna be like, yeah, you can't buy my merchandise, but at the end of the day, I'm catering to the African American population, that resides in South Central Los Angeles.
And it's beautiful. Like I've been there.
Yeah,
I've seen it. I mean,
exactly, exactly.
it's
Yeah,
a fantastic
yeah,
experience.
yeah.
Okay. How do you, aside from saying just take the risk and jump, if you could, like you said, give advice to your younger self or someone who also wants to say, I want to bridge the gap.
Mhm.
I don't know who to reach out to. It's in my heart. I just want to do it. What sort of
Yeah.
advice would you give?
I think nowadays it's actually become very easy, through
Mhm.
social media. I think if you go on Facebook, you can definitely connect with a lot of people from the continent. There are a lot of people in Africa that are very conscious, that are aware of history, that want to connect as well. So you could definitely bridge the gap first through social media. I think a lot of people, I think like this, because I remember like when I was a kid in the 80s, going to school, I did do some schooling in Michigan and Ohio. People just basically thought that Africans were just like in the jungle somewhere, just buck naked running around. But now people are actually like, I see a lot of the kids like listening to this Afrobeat, they watch a lot of African videos. I mean, even the way they dance, like everything is like, it's like I mean, it's such like a pleasant surprise. I think definitely connects to social media, and then just make the jump. There are a lot of African Americans. For example, my wife, she connected with this Made in Africa project group. It's a few African Americans that basically migrated about 10 to 15 years ago, and they established themselves, in one of the Muslim cities. They're all Muslims, and they basically encour- encourage African American repatriation. They'll basically teach you how to buy property, where to invest your money. So I think social media is your first step. Just communicating with people that are there. People that are from here that are living there. Trying to
Mhm.
get a feel of what their experiences are and you know strategize. And just don't go to Africa broke. That's make sure that you have like a good financial base, although everything is cheap and you can sustain yourself for a long time. But yeah, you don't want to be in Africa and just be struggling. So but just like I would say, just basically mainly connect to social media, get to know people. There are a few organizations you can join. Just be really cautious in your approach and understand that Africans are humans too. Some of us want the connection. Others are just more like looking at the lucrative aspect.
Mhm.
But at the end of the day, understand that you are African American and that you are coming from America. The dollar is a very strong currency. Also you have the advantage of speaking English, which is a universal language. So you won't necessarily have as much of a language barrier as somebody, let's say, is coming from Brazil or one of these other countries in South America. So yeah.
Hmm. Do you feel um, do you feel that there is a disconnect between Africans and Africans of the diaspora, whether they be Africans in America or elsewhere?
Yeah, there's definitely a disconnect. Also, it's not as pronounced. I think if you're in the chocolate cities like NYC, they definitely, but there's still gonna be like some type of disconnect. But I think it's not as pronounced as like when I first came, like in the 80s. I think it's getting much better with social media and also people understanding that we are being oppressed, and people just kind of like somewhat making more of an effort to learn about their roots. But yeah,
Hmm.
there's definitely a disconnect, but it's not as pronounced if you're in a big city like, Philly or NYC or Chicago. I mean, even in New Jersey, there are a lot of people, DC. But like once you go in, like, some of the rural areas, like, down south, like Texas, there's definitely going to be a disconnect. But the thing is, like, the thing that I've noticed is that, although there's a disconnect, I've met people that are like so proud to be black that they just embrace me. Like,
Hmm.
you know what I mean? Like, they just embrace me like I'm black, and they just see me like, he's black, he's from Africa, and like I kind of intrigue them, and the cultural differences are like something that actually intrigues them to the point where they really want to get to know me better. But yeah, there's definitely a disconnect. It just depends on who you talk to, and that's the reason why, you have like people that are deemed conscious, you
Hmm.
have others that are somewhat lost. But you just gotta take it, one day at a time, and just try to bridge the gap as much as we can through the internet. That's the only tool we have right now, because they control all the media, and
Hmm.
all of the disconnect mainly comes from, the media brainwashing people, and making people scared, and basically just trying to keep you on this plantation and just working, and just not breaking down unity, dividing to conquer. That's where the disconnect comes from, because they knew exactly what they were doing.
Yeah.
As soon as the slaves get here, they will separate them. If you spoke the same language, like the Wolof people, they would break them apart, put them together with some Igbo people. They knew exactly what they're doing. They wanted to create the cultural disconnect. And that's the
Hmm.
reason why I commend all of my people that are conscious, that understand this, and that just really try to bridge the gap. Because at the end of the day, also there's disconnect. Just look at all the similarities we have.
Right.
We have so many similarities, even with the music. You know what I mean? Everybody knows, black, our music, has rhythm. You know what I mean? Like when you listen to a lot of hip hop, it's like listening to West African rhythms. It's like the same beats. It's like the 8/8 and the 4/4. You know what
Hmm.
I'm saying? So we need to focus on our cultural similarities. And I think that's like the best way to go. And then eventually, through cultural exchange, and now travel, things will get better. I think our future generations from now, it's going to be there's going to be the cultural disconnect is going to be much less pronounced. I mean, look at the kids nowadays listening to Wizkid, and all the Akon from New Jersey, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's a disconnect, but like, we're working on it. The disconnect is less pronounced with people that are conscious, that are Pan-African, that that are influenced by Malcolm X or the Gavayas movement. Those people I have no issues with. It's actually like a blessing. I actually get along with them better than I get along with people back in the continent that don't have that kind of Pan African mindset.
Really.
I think at the end of the day, people that are Pan African, because we do have a Pan African movement. My father is actually part of the Pan African Militant Party. You know, that's the reason why we didn't have too much money growing up, because the Socialist Party was in power. But my father is with Sheikh Anta Diop, who basically wrote a lot of books about Egypt and stuff.
Hmm.
They were all part of the Pan African movement. As a matter of fact, I had a lot of friends like Amiri Baraka. Knew my father really well. My father used to invite a lot of people to his house. And he also taught in universities at the African Studies department over at Cornell University. So growing up, I had a lot of friends, my dad's friends, who were African American scholars, coming home, and just living in Africa and then coming back. Some of them actually have been there for 50 years. Never bothered coming back. So
Do you feel like um, it's a certain segment of the population, I guess, whose responsibility it is? Because this is, I don't know if you know about the conversation as far as like the talented tenth, right? And they
exactly,
have they have their
exactly,
position. Do you
exactly.
feel like that's still necessary, or is it kind of like we're all the playing field has been leveled?
No, you definitely have, like the 5%ers. They tell you the 85% that are like still lost in ignorance. I think like that's with every society. At the end of the day, you're always gonna have critical thinkers. You're
Hmm.
always gonna have like the elite. The scholars, the intellectuals, the people that are really interested in like finding things out. Thinking critically. But then you're also gonna have the masses. People are struggling. I don't really blame people for being ignorant sometimes, because I mean, sometimes you caught up. So it's like, you working. 40 hours, 50 hours a week. You have kids, you don't really have time to think about this, you know what I mean? And you try to like, put yourself in this mind state where like you giving these people that you're working with good energy. So you're not always trying to be Afrocentric. You kind of like, repressing your thoughts. I mean, that's like everywhere you go, you're gonna have the masses and you're gonna have the people, the scholars. That's just how it goes. Whether it be in Africa, you have some Africans in the villages, they don't even know slavery existed. You know what I mean? And like some of my friends, when they went back, they were just like, "Oh my god!" And I was like, so ashamed of that. But at the end of the day, you're gonna have the masses, you're gonna have the people that are educated. That's just comes with the territory. I've learned not to be offended, and just trying to like do a better job of educating. You know what I mean? Just every time I interact with somebody, I educate them. And now it's just so much easier educating people just through social media. Just posting things about Africa. Like I go to Africa, I take so many pictures just to post
Yeah.
them, just so people see, look, I'm not in the jungle somewhere. I mean, if you want to go see the lions, we can go see the lions. But like, I'm a city boy. Like I don't even like really like get along with some of these country boys. Like when I go there, they treat me like I'm like a foreigner. Like what I mean. Like there are just so many like Africans are also very diverse people. You can have diverse experiences. You can go and live in the bush. My wife, she goes out in the bush, where they don't have toilets, and it's all good. She's a hippie. She loves that stuff. You know, I want to be at a hotel. Get a rental, go visit her while she's in the village. I mean, yeah. Africa is diverse. You have like it's just like I mean, some parts are just like here. They listen to hip hop music. They wear Jordans. They play basketball. They want to be like Michael Jordan or Kobe or LeBron. I mean, you'll find a lot of similarities, especially if you go to the cities. But like we will get back to your question. Yeah, you're gonna always gonna have the ignorant masses, the people that are just caught up in the matrix. You know what I mean? And even white folks. I mean, you have some white people that really know about Africa. That are really well read. That like come to my country and like learn the language in like 9 months. And you know what I mean. And then you have like the your typical living in the boondocks somewhere that don't even see black folks. Period. That just have their ideas. That's just how it goes. Every society is gonna have people that are ignorant and people that try to educate themselves. At the end of the day, we're all ignorant, but the thing is, you have to know that all I know is I know nothing, and then build
That
your
part.
knowledge from there. And it's never done. You still gonna
Mm,
continue learning. Learning is just a infinite process.
absolutely. That now, I'll tell you that in a heartbeat. I don't know anything about anything. Like there's so much room for growth and
Exactly.
exploration. And I
Hmm.
think that's part of what makes this topic it's important. The idea
Hmm.
that number one, we're of course we're diverse on a broad scale, right? We're not a monolith.
Exactly.
But we are far more closely related than we choose to admit sometimes.
Exactly. Exactly.
Like
Yeah.
even with talking about the music, Latin music or Latin American music is African music. You know,
Exactly. Yeah.
all of these different
Hmm.
forms have all come from the same home. Like we all grew up
Exactly.
in the same house. We just left at different times.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, even when you watch the performers, like Michael Jackson or James Brown, like even the beat, it's just like it's so African. It's like, I mean, the thing is like a lot of times, like the thing is, I have a lot of friends that are like that plays the djembe, that are into like playing drums. Like I'm pretty much into drumming, so I just hear Africa, like with the music, and I never really felt that deep connection until I went to New Orleans, and like you're seeing the people like how
Yeah.
music just bases life, like everything is just based on music. Like it's like 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 black life revolves around music. If I mean, even like in LA, you driving and somebody's bumping their music in the morning and they're singing, like, what I'm saying? Like,
Hmm.
there are just so many cultural similarities that and then we don't even know where it's from, and then there are so many like even musical connection, like they brought the Africans here, and they instead of they figured out a way to like make their replicate their instruments here, like a
Hmm.
lot of the jazz when you hear it. I mean, sometimes when I hear a saxophone like a Charlie Parker or like a John Coltrane play, it just sounds like a djembe to me. It's
Hmm.
like they do it when they do the solos. It's like a language. It's like they have phrases, like
Hmm.
when they play jazz and they do like a certain solo phrase, and then it's just like so similar to the djembe. And then when you see, even like when I see Stevie Wonder playing the keyboards, it's basically like it's almost like he's hitting a drum. It's not even like, it's almost like he's playing a drum. It's like the piano is like a percussion instrument. You
Mm-hmm.
know, I mean, a lot of times, like, that's why a lot of times, like, musicians are, it's easier for musicians to connect because they kind of see the similarities. And at the
Right.
end of the day, the only thing we really have left is the music. But also, like, the way we raise too, like, I see, like, being, living with my my wife's family that are African Americans. I see so many like similarities, even the way that they educate their children and the way that you're not supposed to talk back to your mom. The way the mother is like a matriarch, your mother runs a household. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I just see so many similarities. Not being able to talk back to your mom the way you would. And then also even like, parents like when, oh man, Buna did something bad yesterday. I whooped his ass so bad, and they did joking about it, like, like that's like some African stuff. It's like, like, oh man, I give him the best whooping. Oh, they talk about it like, and it's like, God, like this is like, it's just so similar. Even the way we raise our children, there are so many similarities because at the end of the day, you can take a tree and throw it in the ocean, and it's never going to turn into a fish. At the end of the day,
I like that.
a lot of times I see African Americans, it's just like they speak in another language, but I just see like the processes, the thought processes are still there. I just see a lot of like, I mean, at the end of the day, if you take a Caucasian person and African American, a lot of times, like, I mean, who's who. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's that
Yeah,
vibration level. I don't know how to explain it.
I get it.
So yeah,
It's like no matter where they took us, no matter where they put us, we're always going to be who we are.
exactly,
And it's still going to show up even
exactly,
generations later. Like
exactly.
so many
Yeah,
of us have never set foot on the continent. We
exactly,
feel it. We know it.
exactly. You feel it. Exactly. Yeah,
The way we move, the way we
yeah,
dance, the way we talk,
exactly.
the tone of our voices,
Yeah,
our inflections. Like
yeah.
it's there. It's
They
still.
can erase DNA memory. You know what I'm saying? It's
Yeah.
like your DNA. It's like in your memory. Like, there are a lot of things that we don't know. It's like scientifically. Like,
Mhm,
there's memory in DNA. You know what I mean? They can't erase that. They can't defeat Mother Nature. And sis, trust and believe. This is just a temporary cycle. It may
mhm.
not happen in our lifetime, but we'll be back. We'll be back. Just watch.
We haven't gone anywhere.
Huh?
So we haven't gone anywhere.
Yeah, we
That's
haven't gone anywhere. We're here. And at the end of the day, genetically, you know what happens? Eventually, there won't be too many of them around. So, you know, like our weapon, our only weapon, we don't have nuclear weapons, we have a genetic weapon. But we need to really focus on us as a people, you know. We need I mean, I don't even know why we don't have these classes. Like, trust and believe, like a lot of times I feel like I need therapy. You know what I mean? Just
a
from
lot of
like
us
the
do.
history. Like we need therapy. We need to build. We need to build as a people. We need to connect. We need to talk. We need to have conversation, and that's why it's very crucial that you have your platform. And I hope you can invite other people that can speak on their own experiences, because like, we need a platform right now. The internet can be used as a weapon to just build as a people and grow, and then just set the tone for the next generations to come.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm. I do feel like the internet and social media specifically has given us more tools and access
Hmm.
to grow and to do for the better, but
Hmm.
we also have to be smart about how we use it. And I like that you called it a weapon because it isn't. It is. It's a
Exactly.
weapon depending on whose hands it's in. Who's got their hand on the button, they could use it however they choose because it's a constant feed at this point into our
Exactly.
minds, into what we're looking at or what we're taking in. But I feel like for us as people, it can go one of two ways. It
Hmm.
can be a gateway to knowledge and connection and all of these things, or it can be a platform to showcase fuckery and
Exactly.
and
Exactly.
stay
Yeah.
put, you know. So we have
Yeah.
to be wise in that as far as how we choose to use it.
Yeah. Exactly.
But I definitely feel like we have more and more tools at our disposal to make
Exactly.
the change and to
Yeah.
move forward and to
Yeah.
really acknowledge who we are and where we came from and where we're going.
Exactly. Yeah. I think a lot of people are somewhat aware of the truth, because a lot of people are, like, people are just so less ignorant. There was a time where we thought Jesus was was white and Christopher Columbus discovered America. But most people know the truth now because
Hmm.
it's out there on the internet. You can do your research, you can read articles. If you don't know a certain topic, you can research it. There are so many tools we have at our disposition. We can actually communicate. I mean, imagine if 400 years ago, you feel like an African could be sitting with you, like just chatting and just telling you, like, you know what I'm saying, like, so we have platforms, we have means, and we just have to utilize them to the best of our ability, like Malcolm said, by any means necessary. So
Absolutely. I agree with that wholeheartedly.
yeah.
And oh, before we close out, because I'm looking at the time, I only hold people hostage for about an hour, so we're right
Okay.
on schedule. Um,
Okay.
I know you often like to talk about your Sunnymoor collection, right?
Yes.
So let's talk about that as far as accessibility. Where can they find it? What are they like? I want to know all the details, even though I stalk your page and know them already.
All right. So the name of my company is Wolofwear, but my wife is a fashion designer. I'm just a business person. So my wife is basically the one behind the collection, and that's the reason why I made important that her name appears, in the business. So it's a Sunnymoor Collection. My wife pretty much sketches out these designs for dresses, jackets, pants, various outfits. And she has a tailor basically making these. So we have a whole team of people working in Africa and making sure that they're delivering these goods that you guys wear. You can find the collection right now. It's just direct sales. But if you follow me on Instagram at Wall of Wear, you can I can do custom orders. Like I can make you anything you want. If you just send me your measurements, I can make things. We are working on the website. This is pretty much like we just basically started like a couple of years ago.
Mhm.
We had a really good experience last year at the African marketplace in Limerick Park. That's where
Mhm.
you can usually find me every Saturday and Sunday if you live in LA. Otherwise, if you follow me on Instagram at Wolofwear, you can see a lot of my products are on there, and you can definitely inbox me and I can ship to you. So we are definitely working on the website. I think it's probably going to materialize this year. We actually have a kid working on it right now as we speak. So as soon as the website is up, I will post it on my Instagram page. But I think right now, just follow me on Wall of Wear on Instagram. And if you come to LA, just come to the African Marketplace every Saturday and Sunday. I'm there from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m.
Absolutely. I know next time I go out, I will be
Yeah.
there
And
again.
I got you, sis. If you need anything, you can inbox me anytime. As a
I
matter of
see
fact, I'm
it.
gonna make you some stuff. I see you like the bifile, the one with the different patches. I'm gonna say
Mhm.
I'm gonna hook you up.
Every time I listen, I'm on there and I'm like, that's hot. That's hot. I want
Yeah,
that one
yeah.
too. Like, I have a whole
I
shopping
know.
cart in my head. And
Yeah,
I'm like,
yeah,
I don't even live out there, man. How am I going to
yeah.
get this
Now I'm
stuff?
gonna hook you up, sis. I'm gonna make you a fashion brand ambassador. You're gonna be
I
my
would do
fashion.
that in a heartbeat. In a
Yeah.
heartbeat.
And you're always welcome in the motherland. I'm actually working on renovating a house, which should be available right now. I actually do have a place. If
Mhm.
anybody wants to, if you connect via Wall of Wear on Instagram or whatever, and you want to come to Africa, just reach out to me. I have a beach house. I have a 1 bedroom where you can have your own separate living quarters. But I'm working on building a mansion, and guess
Okay.
what? I'm going to be naming the mansion the Harriet Tubman.
Oh
I'm gonna
wow.
put a big I'm gonna put a big statue of Harriet Tubman in the front of it with a big rifle and make sure that it's visible. And it's gonna be I wanna be able to accommodate as many people from here as possible and including you. I would like you to be able to come to Africa and enjoy the beach and enjoy the culture. And I'm gonna lace you up with some gear. And if you come to LA, you can even maybe participate in my fashion shows. I do
I'm
do fashion shows every third Sunday of the month.
yeah. And you just messed up by saying I can get custom stuff.
Yeah, I'm gonna get you.
So,
Yeah, we can do that. Let's work it out. As a matter of
absolutely.
fact, I'm just like, I have a customer in Jersey. I think it's Morrisville. Yeah, that's where my last order is from Jersey.
Okay. I know.
Yeah,
I know. I'm probably Morristown. I know exactly where it is. But
exactly.
yeah, we're gonna talk. We're gonna talk.
Exactly. My sister.
Absolutely. This is
Yeah,
a connection that I'm definitely glad came to fruition.
yeah,
Divine timing and
yeah.
random walking the streets.
Exactly. Yeah.
But you're always where you're supposed to be.
And I
So
apologize. I should have been on the show earlier. I just didn't know that all I had to do on my laptop there's like a cover on the camera
Mhm.
because it's my company's laptop. All I had to do was just basically remove the cover. But I was worried that, like, sometimes they give you, like, administrative privileges. They don't let you just
Mhm.
download. But yeah, we could have done this much earlier. But I am so pleased and honored to be on your show. And like you said, my sister, I have like the utmost respect. The vibrational energy from you it's always been positive. You know what I mean? And thank you for your support. And now, I'm on your podcast. I hope we can continue to build. And
Absolutely.
eventually, have you been to Africa yet, or
No,
not
not
yet? Well, I want to welcome you, and you can come. You can come even in next month if you want. It's up to you. We have a one bedroom, like I said, that's available. I've been like inviting a lot of the elders, that are like
yet. Mm.
60, that are so Afrocentric and so pro black. That just never made the trip, and I was like, just begging them for 2 years. Come on, bro, please, please. And
Mhm.
finally, them being there, that was like the highlight of my last vacation. Actually, I was able to invite a vendor over, and he spent about 2 weeks and he loved it. He's talking about getting married now. Like, I don't know, like if we met somebody down there, but but yeah,
But that is fantastic, and we're definitely going to keep in touch,
yes,
like for real.
yeah.
So, thank you again for stopping by, for sitting on the couch with me, and just keeping real conversation
Thank
because
you for
that's what
having me.
this is
Yeah,
about.
yeah.
And this has been another Tuesday night couch conversation on the People's Pride Project. Thank you very, very much, and we'll see you guys again next week. Bye.